If you want to improve your focus, feel more alive, regulate your nervous system, and actually get back to living your life, then this video is for you. Now, let's be honest, we're all addicted. Me too. I am no better than you. I have the same brain as you, and social media companies know how to mess with us. I used to waste hours away scrolling and consuming content, checking my phone first thing in the morning, scrolling while waiting in the supermarket queue, listening to podcasts when out on walks, scrolling before going to sleep. My phone was the first and last thing I looked at every single day. But I was not just addicted to my phone. As someone who mainly works online, I was also addicted to working on my computer. I found it really hard to switch off, take breaks, and simply not work. And all of this is totally normalized. We think it's not that bad, but statistics don't lie. The average person's phone screen time stands at around 5 to 7 hours per day. That's about 25% or a quarter of our lives. And as I like to say, show me your screen time and I will tell you who you are. I finally healed my social media and internet addiction, and I found out what works for me. And as a result, my concentration and focus increased massively. I now get way more done in way less time, and I actually have way more time to enjoy my life. And so in this video, I want to share with you what I've experimented with and how I got to where I am today. So about a year or two ago, there was a day where it hit me like a brick of rocks. I just didn't want to be a victim of social media and digital technologies anymore. I didn't want to spend my life just in front of screens, scrolling and scrolling, consuming and consuming. And I didn't want to spend hours working at my computer and then looking at another rectangle screen for hours after that. Now, I just don't like my own brain when I spend too much time online and scrolling. And I just got so sick and tired of it all. And I realized my attention is sacred because it's limited. And I realized my time on earth is too valuable to spend it scrolling on social media and sitting in front of screens all day. And this is something I invite you to do right now. I'd like you to connect to the finite quality of your life. Yes, because you will die, and I will too. And if we're lucky, we get to lie on our deathbed and reflect on the years lived and the experiences that we had. Now, how will you feel about spending hours of your life staring at screens and scrolling on social media? Just let that sink in for a moment. Now, if my attention is the most precious resource in the universe, then what is worth my attention today? That is a big question. Sometimes I dream back to the days without phones, without social media, the freedom, the time abundance, the presence, the creativity. Oh my God, wow, yeah. Somehow, humans made it 200,000 years by simply living without screens, without computers, without phones and social media. And look at us now. Because we're so addicted to screens, we're losing control over our time, our focus, and our ability to engage with reality in a meaningful way. And man, I don't think that's a good trajectory for our species. Now, here was the thing though. I felt like there had to be a way to break my addiction without having to quit, because I still get benefits out of using social media. There are a lot of people online that inspire me deeply, and my business is mainly online as well. So my goal was to create strong boundaries without quitting social media completely. Now, the challenge of internet and social media addiction is learning how to balance using them without letting them control you. And today I can say I have accomplished that goal and I feel really good about it. I've found a way to empower myself to get the best out of social media and digital technologies, but not have them rule my life. Now, our brains weren't designed for this level of constant digital stimulation. We're not built to constantly take in information. Our systems are meant to spend a lot of time in nature, engage with other people in real life, and have a lot of idle time doing nothing and thinking nothing and not taking anything in. And at the heart of our battle with screens and social media is dopamine. It's the brain's reward chemical. Dopamine reinforces behaviors by making them feel good. But the internet and social media trains our brains to seek instant dopamine spikes, which makes normal, slow, rewarding tasks like reading a book or exercising or even simple presence feel dull and unbearably slow and unappealing in comparison. And doom scrolling isn't just wasting time, it's actively rewiring our brains and conditions us to crave instant gratification all the time. And so the more you rely on technology for stimulation, the harder it becomes to enjoy real-life activities, like the kind that requires patience, effort, and presence. And so your brain adapts to this constant high dopamine stimulation, which makes focus and deep work increasingly difficult. And so over time, normal activities, they feel unsatisfying, and your attention span shrinks and your motivation dwindles. And this is why it feels so hard to break free. It's not that you're lazy or undisciplined. Your brain is up against one of the most powerful engagement machines ever built. But the internet and social media, they're both a vital tool and a potent addiction. But unlike alcohol, for example, you can't just quit it cold turkey. Instead, we have to learn how to control it because we can't just go back to a life without the internet and social media. Now, many people assume they scroll simply because they're bored. However, it's often a coping mechanism for avoiding uncomfortable emotions, believe it or not. These days, I catch myself when I'm triggered and I immediately reach for my phone and I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm scrolling away to not feel whatever it is that got triggered. Now, all forms of technology will suppress negative emotional circuitry, so we're all becoming more alexithymic, meaning we're just having a really hard time to feel our emotions, identify what we're feeling. So next time you grab your phone, check in if you're doing it because you don't want to feel something in your body. Because we often do this automatically. We don't even notice it anymore when we reach for our phones. It's such an automated behavior. But technology numbs emotions, which disconnects us from who we are. And instead of processing emotions, we develop a habit of escaping into digital content. And essentially, we escape our emotions and go into our minds. And when we are on our phones or on our computers, we barely are aware of our bodies. We basically spend most of our time dissociated. And you know, when I think about it, it's like we don't really interact with the real world as much anymore. We mainly interact with people through screens. It's like we are cyborgs and our phones are extensions of who we are as humans. Now, how did I reclaim my life and my attention? Well, as always, awareness was the first step. Awareness, it's always the most important thing. And then the next step was learning how to get back my mind and get my life back from the digital dopamine trap. Mind you, all of what I'm about to share with you took time to implement. It wasn't an immediate transformation. I've been experimenting a lot over the last 2 years, but it's really only been in the last few months that I'm actually happy with where I'm at with how I use screens and social media. So cut yourself some slack and be kind with yourself wherever you are on your journey to heal your social media and internet addiction. We are trying to undo years of conditioning, and that takes time. Now, as mentioned, the first step was creating awareness, and that started by being honest with myself. That meant tracking and checking my screen time and the amount of times I unlocked my phone on any given day. And that number was very high, up in the 100 and plus. And I was probably up to, 5-6 hours of screen time just on my phone. So the big goal was to set up strong boundaries that I couldn't cross. Everything else didn't work, so I had to become ruthless. Remember, without quitting social media completely. Now, the first thing was I had to create boundaries in my everyday life. Number one was no phone after waking up and for at least the first hour of the day. So I started leaving my phone up here in my studio office. That meant also no phone in bed. And that has been a hard rule ever since. And with this one, the effects were immediate. It's like a brain reset. I just had so much more clarity and focus right away. And if, for the very rare occasion, I do find myself scrolling on social media or check my email in the morning, I immediately notice that my brain struggles to focus on work later in the day. It's insane. And then number two was no phone during the last hour before going to bed. And although that has actually increased since then, I usually just leave my phone charging in my studio when I'm done working, and that's it. I don't touch it anymore. And number three was no phone on walks with my dog. I also made sure I didn't have my phone in sight when doing deep work. And deep work for me means where I set a timer for 60 or 90 minutes and I commit to doing a certain task, and I can only focus on that and nothing else. Plus, my wife and I also decided that our work cutoff time would be 7 p.m. every day. We've been pretty good about it. There are the occasional exceptions every now and again, but 7 p.m., then we have dinner, then we chill, then we go to sleep. That's it. Next, I still wanted to limit my access to certain apps on my phone, and I tried the whole deleting and reinstalling social media apps, but that didn't really work in the long run. And then I heard about ways to block apps on your phone during certain times, and I found the app Opal incredibly useful for this. I tried out a few different ones, but this one, even though it's not very cheap, is the best one by far. You can basically set when you can't access certain apps, and so my current setup is that I can only access social media apps as well as apps like Substack, Reddit, etc. only Monday to Friday between 4 and 7 p.m. So that's 3 hours per day during the day and 0 on the weekend. So they're completely blocked on the weekend, basically from Friday 7 p.m. until Monday 4 p.m. And I started out with a way bigger time window, actually. I think it was 1 p.m. until 8 p.m. And then I slowly made that time window smaller and smaller. And this all went really well, but I still wasn't quite happy yet. I still spent too much time listening to podcasts or watching YouTube, checking the news, or being on WhatsApp. So I decided to take Saturday as my offline day, meaning I do not touch my phone at all on Saturdays. No information intake from digital devices. All I can do is read books. No podcasts, no YouTube, nothing. And it takes me half of Saturday to settle into being offline and not consuming any online content. And it's really not easy to turn off my working brain as well. But by Saturday evening, I already feel almost no desire to look at screens. I just feel like it takes a few hours to adjust to the lower dopamine levels. And knowing this makes it so much easier. I know it's temporary, that feeling like, I want to grab my phone. And in a few hours, it'll be fine, right? So come Sunday, I organically don't even want to spend time on my phone, and I often extend my offline time until Sunday evening. And the last big development happened a few weeks ago. I decided to get a new phone, and then basically I now have an online phone and an offline phone. And that's a very privileged, amazing setup. But essentially my offline phone is like a dumb phone. It doesn't have any social media apps installed, no email, no YouTube, nothing. And my online phone has all these apps installed, but I still have the Opal app running on that phone as well. And this way I can make even more conscious decisions as to how I want to spend my time. And it's been great so far, highly recommend it if you have the resources. Now, the big question is, what do I do instead of being on my phone or being on my computer? And I think that's where a lot of people fail with all their good intentions. And I struggled with that as well in the beginning, so I made a list of all the offline things that I enjoy doing. And most of the time, instead of scrolling, I read books. But I also got back into learning to play the guitar, I meditate a lot more, I spend more time outside with my wife, and yeah, my focus has skyrocketed. I get more done in less time. As mentioned, I can concentrate on reading a book for hours now, which wasn't possible a few years ago. And I'm just generally way more present, way more grounded. And above all, my nervous system is just a lot more regulated. It's amazing. And I'm not interested in doom scrolling anymore or watch endless short form video content. I'm generally not as interested in consuming content online anymore, like in general. Books just make way more sense to me. It's deep information versus shallow information on social media, and it's a lot more fulfilling. So if you're interested to go down a similar path like me and heal your social media and internet addiction, I have a couple extra recommendations for you. Number one is to commit to meditate daily. Meditation really is the best antidote to screen addiction because it teaches the brain to find contentment without external stimulation. Plus, integrating regulating breathing practices helps regulate your nervous system, and a more regulated nervous system is less likely to escape into your phone. Seriously, train yourself to sit in silence. It's the best way to train your mind not to get distracted in your daily life. Start with 5 minutes of meditation and then slowly make your way up to 20 minutes. It will make this whole detox process so much easier. You can also check the link in the description below if you're interested to learn how to meditate using your breath. I created a whole course just for that. And lastly, sort of similar to meditation, is that you have to train your brain to tolerate boredom again. If you always escape boredom by using your screens, your brain loses the ability to focus on real-world tasks. And so boredom is like a skill we can cultivate again. Take small moments during your day where you don't do anything and just sit there without stimulation. Like when you eat meals or when you're in line at the supermarket, resist the urge to immediately grab your phone when you're idle and instead learn to be fully present right now, engaging your senses and simply enjoy life again. So, I hope this video was helpful. I really hope you're gonna give some of the things I shared with you a try. I promise you it will change your life. It's so worth it. And if you'd like some inspiration for how to create your mornings in a conscious way to reset your dopamine levels, check out this video. And with this, I will see you soon in my next video. Take care. Peace.